Ulrike Meinhof. Author Selzer-McKenzie. Ulrike Marie Meinhof, October 7, 1934 – May 9, 1976, was a German left-wing militant. She co-founded the Red Army faction, wrote Army for Action, in 1970 after having previously worked as a journalist for the monthly left-wing magazine Konkret. She was arrested in 1972 and eventually charged with numerous murders and the formation of a criminal association. Before the trial concluded, Meinhof died in her cell in 1976. Ulrike Meinhof was born in 1934 in Oldenburg, Germany. In 1936, her family moved to Jena when her father, art historian Dr. Werner Meinhof, became director of the city's museum. Her father died of cancer in 1940, causing her mother to take in a boarder, Renate, to make money. In 1946 the family moved back to Oldenburg because Jena fell under Soviet rule as a result of the Yalta Agreement. Ulrike's mother, Dr. Ingeborg Meinhof, who worked as a teacher after World War II (1 right), passed away 8 years later from cancer. Renate took on the role of guardian for Ulrike and her elder sister. In 1955 she took her Abitur to school in Weilburg. She then studied philosophy, sociology, pedagogic, roughly pedagogy, and Germanistic, German studies, at Marburg where she became involved with reform movements. In 1957 she moved to the University of Münster, where she met the Spanish Marxist Manuel Sacristan, who later translated and edited some of her writings, and joined the Socialist German Student Union, participating in the protests against the rearmament of the Bundeswehr and its involvement with nuclear weapons as proposed by Konrad Adenauer's government. She eventually became the spokeswoman of the local Anti-Atomtodausschuss, Anti-Atomic Death Committee. In 1958, she spent a short time on the Oster, German, Allgemeine Studiendenausschuss, or General Committee of Students, of the university and wrote articles for various student newspapers. In 1959 she joined the KPD, the banned German Communist Party, and later began work at the magazine Konkret, serving as chief editor from 1962 until 1964. In 1961, she married the co-founder and publisher of Konkret, Klaus Rainer Rohel. Their marriage produced twins, Regine and Bettina, on 21 September, 1962, and lasted until their separation in 1967, which was followed by divorce the following year. The attempted assassination of Radidutsch on 11 April, 1968 provoked Meinhof to write an article in Konkret demonstrating her increasingly militant attitude and containing perhaps her best-known quote. "Protest is when I say this does not please me. Resistance is when I ensure what does not please me occurs no more. Left square bracket to right square bracket." Later that year, her writings on arson attacks in Frankfurt protesting the Vietnam War resulted in her developing an acquaintance with the perpetrators, most significantly Andreas Baader and Gudrun Ensslin. She left her job at Konkret in the early part of 1969, later returning to vandalize the offices in May, and began her life as a guerrilla. Perhaps her last work as an individual was the writing and production of a film Bambule in 1970, urging female revolt in class warfare. By the time it was scheduled to be aired, she had become a wanted terrorist and its broadcast was delayed until 1997. More specifically, by that point she had participated in the breakout of Baader on the 14th of May, 1970. During this assisted escape from a research institute Baader was visiting rather than a prison, a 64-year-old librarian was shot several times with a pistol, resulting in critical liver damage, and 2 law enforcement officers were wounded. Baader and the 3 women involved were accused of attempted murder and a 10,000 German mark reward was offered for Meinhof's captor, In the next 2 years, Meinhof participated in the various bank robberies and bombings executed by the group. She and other RAF members attempted to kidnap her children so that they could be sent to Palestine and educated there according to her desires. However, the twins were intercepted in Sicily and returned to their father, in part due to the intervention of Stefan Ost. Left square bracket for right square bracket. During this period, Meinhof wrote or recorded many of the manifestos and tracts for the RAF. The most significant of these is probably the concept of the urban guerrilla, a response to an essay by Horst Mahler that attempts to set out more correctly their prevailing ideology. It also included the first use of the moniker wrote Army for Action and, in the publications of it, the first use of the RAF insignia. Left square bracket 5 right square bracket. Her practical importance in the group, however, was often overstated by the media, the most obvious example being the common moniker Bader Meinhof Gang for the RAF. Gudrun Enslin is often considered to have been the effective female co-leader of the group rather than Meinhof. On 14th of June, 1972 in Langenhagen, Fritz Rodewald, a teacher who had been providing accommodation to deserters from the U.S. Armed Forces, was approached by a stranger asking for an overnighting house the next day for herself and a friend. He agreed but later became suspicious that the woman might be involved with the RAF and eventually decided to call the police. The next day the pair arrived at Rodewald's dwelling while the police watched. The man was followed to a nearby telephone box and was found to be Gerhard Müller, who was armed. They then proceeded to arrest the woman Ulrike Meinhof.